The version of MCP that every server you use was built on is being replaced. On July 28th, the session goes away, and a lot of servers stop working the way they do today. This is the release candidate for the biggest change to MCP since it launched. It supersedes the current spec, and it adds a stateless core, MCP apps, and long-running tasks. And yes, it breaks things. To see why, look at how a call works today. First, the client runs an initialized handshake. The server mints a session ID, and every later request has to carry that same header back. That session ID is the whole problem. The state lives on the one instance that answered initialize. So every follow-up request has to be routed back to that exact same replica. And that is what makes scaling MCP painful. To run more than one instance, you need sticky sessions or a shared session store, just to keep each conversation glued to its own replica. We wanted to feel that failure, so we built it. The same little MCP tool, 3 identical replicas, and an ordinary round-robin load balancer with no sticky routing at all. Here is the session-based server behind that load balancer. The moment a request lands on a replica that does not hold the session, it fails with an unknown session error. The numbers are brutal, and they should be. Only a third of individual requests succeeded, and not one of our 12 full conversations finished. Pin each client to its replica, and it is fine, which proves the tool itself is correct. This is exactly what the July 28th spec sets out to fix. It makes the protocol stateless. No session, no handshake, so any server instance can handle any request. So what actually leaves the protocol? The session ID header is gone. The initialized handshake is gone. And the version and capabilities now ride in metadata on every single request. The new request explains itself. There is no session ID and no handshake. The metadata carries the version, and a couple of new headers tell a gateway how to route it without ever reading the body. Those 2 headers are quietly a big deal. The method and name of the call now live in the headers, so load balancers, gateways, and rate limiters can route on the operation without inspecting the payload. Now run the stateless version through the exact same load balancer. Watch the count climb, request after request, even though every call lands on a different replica than the last. Same tool, same load balancer, opposite result. Every request succeeded, and all 12 conversations finished. That is the whole promise of the rewrite in one number. Put the 3 runs side by side. Session based on a plain load balancer falls apart. Sticky routing saves it, but costs you the simple setup. Stateless just works, with nothing special underneath. None of this is free, though. If you maintain an MCP server, here is the migration. The session and the handshake are gone. The new headers are required. And tasks became a separate extension. The timing is tight, and it is worth knowing. The release candidate locked in May, and the final spec lands July 28th. That is your window to test your server against it. A few older features are being retired too. Routes, sampling, and logging are now deprecated. But nothing vanishes overnight. A deprecated feature has to stay put for at least 12 months before it can be removed. The rewrite is not only about scaling. With MCP Apps, a server can return an actual interface. A real interactive panel that the host renders in a sandboxed frame instead of a wall of plain text. And it stays inside the same trust model. The rendered interface talks back over the same base protocol. So every action a user takes in it goes through the same consent and audit path as a normal tool call. Authorization got a serious upgrade as well. It now lines up with how OAuth and OpenID are actually deployed, with stricter issuer checks and a proper enterprise grant for managed identity. Long-running work gets its own shape now. A tools call can hand back a task handle, and the client polls for progress instead of holding a connection open. Listing tasks, though, is gone. You can read all of this straight from the source. The release candidate is public. The breaking changes are documented. And beta SDKs are already out for you to test against. So is it production ready today? Honest answer, not quite, and that is fine. It is a release candidate, and the SDKs are betas. Stateless does not delete your state, it just moves it out of the protocol. But the payoff is real, and it is large. A stateless MCP server is just a normal web service. You can put it behind the same ordinary infrastructure you already run everything else on. So here is the takeaway before the 28th. The MCP you learned is changing, and stateless is the unlock that lets it scale like everything else. Read the migration guide, pin the beta, and test before the date. That is Film 7. The spec, the SDK betas, and our whole experiment are in the description. Build, ship, and scale, now without the sticky sessions.